Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Emmanuel here, and after a really long break, we're finally here for another video. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the biggest scam in real estate. And some people may know before I say it, some people don't. But real estate is kind of a touchy topic, right? Because especially in today's economy with the interest rates growing up and things like that, it's kind of hard for people to get in real estate. But real estate has always been talked about like it is the largest wealth builder, especially here in America, right? So people who want to be entrepreneurs, people who want to have that investment mindset, or people who just want to, build a little bit of financial independence in their life or generational wealth or whatever it may be, right? A lot of people, all roads lead to Rome, all roads lead to real estate when it comes to how to build a large amount of money in a little bit of time. And it's great. It makes sense, right? Because what makes real estate so powerful is the idea of OPM, right? And for those who don't know what OPM is, it is using other people's money. So why is OPM so powerful, and how does that make real estate the most powerful wealth generating asset? Is because I can leverage, around $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, depending on your credit worthiness, up to $1 million, to then go and buy a cash flowing asset like a cash flowing rental, like a townhouse or like a duplex, quadplex. Multifamilies is the hotness right now. And then I can do that with little or no money out of pocket, and once that thing gets cash flowing, I can use the cash flow and the rental income from that property to pay down the loan. Because we all know how powerful this wealth generating asset is, we all try to find ways to get into it, right? And the number one scam that normally gets people is coaching and mentors. And not just any coaching and mentors, don't get me wrong, right? You want to find a coach or a mentor, but I mean paid coaching and mentors. So this begs the question, should I pay for a coach and or a mentor as well as a real estate course? In my personal opinion, I think it is great to pay for coaching, right? Because coaches, they're the experts, right? Or they're supposed to bring more out of you than you can get out of yourself. But in the topic of real estate, I think in the beginning, you don't need coaching. I think by the time you need coaching, you should have at least 10 properties, and maybe even more, right? Because there's situations that you could be in right now that coaching can't help you, right? And I think that most people who are looking for coaches, are just looking for an additional reason to maybe find an excuse not to get started. So they're saying, oh, I have no one to teach me, so I don't want to start, right? When you have other avenues like podcasts, right? Those podcasts can essentially be your coaches. You can find somebody who has a rental or two and let you know how they get started so you can get started in a similar fashion. You have YouTube, you have my channel. I'm going to talk about real estate a lot on this channel. The Bigger Pockets entire community, right? They have the biggerpockets.com where you can go sign up, and then they have forums for days. So when should you pay for coaching? You should pay for coaching after you have exhausted all of your own personal resources to get into real estate. Meaning you have already used at least one FHA, VA loan, or any of those government-backed loans, where there's a whole list of them. If you just Google government-backed loans, and it will give you every type, every category of those. I want to say there are about 4 or 5, but there could be more that I haven't even heard about myself. I have personally used the VA loan 2 times, and I plan on using an FHA loan a 3rd time later next year. I would also recommend coaching if you have already watched over 100 episodes of a real estate podcast, whether that be the Bigger Pockets podcast like I watch, or whether it be something else that you go and find on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your podcast. But there's a plethora of free content out there that you should go and utilize first before you go and decide to pay for a coach, mentor, or master course. Just whatever we want to do, we want to get as much free resources as we can before we go and pay for it, right? If it ain't free, it ain't for me. You should also read 10 real estate or personal finance books before you go and pay for coaching. I recommend starting with The Richest Man in Babylon. That was my second book that I've read, but it was the book that made the biggest impact on my life financially since I've started reading books. And I probably read about 35, 40 books since I have read The Richest Man in Babylon. And that book still, to this day, has the largest impact on me. I read it twice, and I've listened to the audiobook an additional 4 times. I kind of listen to the audiobook at least once a quarter at this point in my life. Yeah, so I would definitely highly recommend The Richest Man in Babylon to start on that book journey before paying for coaching and or mentors. Have 100 conversations with people who own at least one rental property, right? You know somebody somewhere who owns a rental or some type of real estate, whether that be commercial real estate, whether it be large multifamily homes, whatever it may be. You know somebody who knows somebody who has real estate. So have 100 of those conversations and track those conversations. Pull your phone out in your notes and say, I talked to Joe Smo on March 31st and we talked for an hour. Don't do it when you're there with it because that's kind of weird. But you know, as you exit the conversation or as you leave, you know, pull your phone out. Like if you're texting someone, go to that notepad and put number 1, I talked to Joe Smo, said date, and do that until you've got 100. If you talk to 100 people about how they got their first deal, you know, how they acquired it, what type of loan did they use, you know, just ask them those questions. Now, don't interview them, right? You know, we're not there to sit there and probe them. We want to have an open dialogue, you know, just let them know that that's something that you're interested in. You heard that they do it. You know, you've tried this, this, and this. You read this book. You've been on that forum. You know, where did they start? And just get them going. You know, just have a normal conversation and see. You know, being personable is going to take you very far in the real estate journey anyway. So that is also a skill set that you will be building, having these conversations with people. And yes, don't forget to track it. The doer does what the tracker tracks. And you need to track these conversations to guarantee that you get to that 100. And then another point that kind of goes on the last point I just made, having a conversation with at least 100 people. Take a realtor, a lender, a real estate investor, or even the person that you were going to have that conversation with out to lunch, right? To a coffee, to, you know, whatever you want to do that you're into. I don't know if you do Pilates or whatever it may be, the gym, but get those people in a situation to where maybe you're giving them some free fun, but you're getting a lot of like back in return when it comes to all of the knowledge that they're going to give you when you guys are just having a regular day-to-day conversation. And then you just add in some real estate or add in, hey, this is what I want to do. Talk about your goals and let them help you redefine. You know, every time you have one of those conversations, every time you put them in a situation to where you're kind of being the initiator as far as doing something for them and not necessarily asking for something in return, but you're going to get it through osmosis because you're being around these people. The goal with this, taking them out to lunch, taking them to dinner, taking them to a coffee, you know, inviting them to the gym, is to get those type of people in your circle and get around them so you can start seeing some of the things that they did that made them successful or successful at whatever level through real estate. The next one I would say is analyze 100 real estate deals. I know I've said 100 2 times now. I know that sounds like a lot, but trust me, it's not. And in the grand scheme of things, all it does is you want to put yourself in the situation to where it becomes less of a burden. When you've never analyzed a real estate deal before, and then you talk about analyzing 100 of them, that can sound overwhelming. But just start with 1, do 2. Eventually, you're going to have the 3rd one done, and then you're going to be rolling. You know, you might be a month into this, and you've analyzed about 50, and it's not going to seem that big of a deal. It may take you some time, but that's the thing about real estate. Real estate takes time. It's not get rich quick. It is going to take years. When I say years, I'm talking 7 to 10 years, sometimes just to see your money back on your first real estate deal. So you have to be willing to put in this time. And so you're going to then ask, well, where do I get the analysis tool? Where do I get the calculator? Blah, 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 all those things. If you sign up for Bigger Pockets, like I mentioned earlier, they have real estate calculators on there. You can analyze deals through that. There's Excel sheets that are readily and available if you Google real estate deal calculators out there. And I have one that I can upload on my channel if I start seeing that this video is liked. So here's a chance for you to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We start getting this channel rolling. I get these videos coming out once a week. That's the goal right now. I could start putting my real estate analysis tool up here and uploading that, you know. And that, of course, would be free and available in the beginning. Start to attend weekly or bi-monthly meetups. If you've never done a real estate deal, if you don't know anything about real estate, the best thing you can do is surround yourself around people who do real estate, right? Think about whatever job you do or whatever sport you've ever played, or let's just think, right? Professional athletes. Who do you think professional athletes hang out with? They hang out with other professional athletes. Who do actors hang out with? They hang out with other actors. Who do millionaires hang out with? Typically other millionaires. So if you want to become a real estate investor, you need to hang out with other real estate investors. So find a weekly, bi-monthly, every other week, every third Thursday of the month group to where you can just go in there for an hour. Maybe you guys have a speaker that comes up. Maybe they do a presentation, maybe somebody goes over their deals, whatever it may be. Honestly, just find one that works for you and go there every week. And, in the beginning, I would probably just sit and listen, take notes, bring a notebook. And then eventually you need to start talking to these guys. You need to start networking. That is a great networking program. And if you can't find one, there's apps like Meetup. I refer to Google a lot. You think Google would sponsor this channel? Google, if you're watching this, we need a sponsor. I'm just kidding. But yeah, you can Google it. And Bigger Pockets also has a lot of places to go find how to meet meetups, right? Especially if you live in a bigger city like me. I live near Fort Lauderdale, and so we have Bigger Pockets meetups down here in Fort Lauderdale. So just Google it, real estate meetup near me. Now, to caveat that, you do have to be wary of the meetups that do include a masterclass or do include a paid membership or do include some paid coaching and stuff like that, because that's the point of this video. We're trying to see if that stuff is necessary. So if you go to one of those, and they're not going to make you pay to walk in the door, but take the seminar, do all the things. And if you start feeling like everybody's a little too happy to be here, it's a little cultish, then probably going to have to pay some money at the end. So just, politely take some cheese and crackers and shake a few hands and then go about your day until you find one of those that are free. They exist. I went to one for a year, where we didn't have to pay a thing, and all they did was came and bring us knowledge and bring us people who have done it, people who are farther along than I was. And that's what you want to get to. You want to put yourself into a position to where you're not the smartest person in the room, and you want to be able to sit near or next to or in front of the smartest person in the room and just say, hey, I'm having this problem. I've tried this thing. I've tried that thing. Have you seen this before? Do you know someone who's seen this before? And then the final 2 points I want to make, which no one is going to like, but it is very important. You need to pay down or off. I would highly recommend off, but at least pay down your consumer debt. I highly, highly, highly recommend you pay down or pay off that consumer debt, because you're not going to do good in real estate, right? Because real estate, not just real estate, but finances in general is a mindset problem, right? It's 80% mindset, 20% what you actually do. And consumer debt tells me something about your mindset. It's like a GPA, right? A credit score is like a GPA, right? So yes, GPA does not mean that you're smart or dumb or you need to be in this type of classes or that type of classes. What it tells me is that you have a work ethic. You do your homework. You study enough to pass the test. It's the same thing with a credit score. Credit score tells me you pay back what you owe somebody. And the fact that you can do that means that I can give you largest amount of money because you've paid off the smaller sum. When we're talking about real estate, we could be talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars to millions of dollars, just depending on the type of deal that you do. So we want to make sure that we have good, healthy habits with money and pay down that consumer debt. And then the last point I'm going to make is that we want to live below our means, right? I mentioned the book earlier, The Richest Man in Babylon. It recommends to save 10%, right? That's where that 10% was coined. Dave Ramsey, who's really big into the financial coaching world, he recommends 15%. I would say if you want to get into something like real estate, which it takes a lot of leverage, and you're going to be dealing with a lot of debt, that cash reserves is kind of a big deal. And that's the your number one combatant between going under or not is having those cash reserves. So I highly recommend 20 to 25% should be saved of your income. You should be living below your means at that 75% mark. And that would be a great number to get used to, even as you continue to get cash flow with your real estate once you start buying real estate. And if you own real estate, you should definitely be living 75% or less below your means, right? So be saving that 25%. If you're a really, really, really good one, 30%. That way you can have that cash on hand. That way you can apply that extra cash in cases of emergencies. You can also use that to acquire more real estate. So we want to start that habit now when we may be working with a little bit less money and we don't have any type of leverage that we're worried about. And we want to start getting used to living below our means and living below that 75% mark. So if you like hearing me talk about my journey to financial independence, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, or smash that notification bell. I'm going to be uploading videos every week. And we're also going to start adding my portfolio to the intros of these videos so you guys can see where I am along my financial journey. And we have big goals for the channel. Until next time, see you guys later.